Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Just going to get a few more seconds for people to come in out of the waiting room. Sometimes it takes others a little longer. Thank you again for joining us, and I'll introduce everyone shortly. See the numbers still trickling in. For those of you just joining us, thank you for being with us today. I'm just giving it some time for people to get out of the waiting room. We have a large number of people registered for the event today, so I want to make sure everyone is in before we get started so no one misses out on any information. All right, it seems like we're good now. Let's see. I'm just watching the numbers. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started because it's slowly winding down now. So thank you again for everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Crystalline Vargas. I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions for Syracuse University in the Metro New York area. So I am a regional representative and I typically work out of Manhattan. And I'm also an alum of SU. I received my bachelor's and my master's from SU. With me this evening, I have some pretty great people that are going to be able to fill your minds with a lot of information. I have Huey, and then I have Jimmy and a current student, Sierra. So if we'll get started with Jimmy, right? Jimmy, you're off first. All right.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Jimmy Luckman. I'm the program coordinator in the Office of First Year and Transfer Programs. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what our office specifically does. So the Office of First Year and Transfer Programs, essentially, we are kind of the department that helps you develop personally, professionally, academically, all at the start of your first year experience. So one of our main things that we're known for is Syracuse Welcome, which is your orientation experience that'll help you grow and learn about resources right at the start of your first year experience. So we can go to the next slide. See, yep, and then right to the next one. And our office does a couple of things specifically for first generation students. So we have four main things I'll be able to touch on throughout the presentation. So the first one is the optional CUSE First pre-welcome program. The next slide will show a little bit more about the pre-welcome program. So this is optional. So before you start your Syracuse welcome experience, that orientation that all first incoming students, including transfer students, have to take, the CUSE First pre-welcome program is an opportunity for first generation students to connect with other first gen students and get opportunity to gain partnership and just learn about resources that are directed towards first gen students. So CUSE Works is a place where you can learn a little bit about getting a job on campus. They connect with career services, and we tailor that to a first gen experience. So it's not just a CUSE, it's not just a typical run-of-the-mill career service program. It's directed for first generation students, so kind of walk you through and kind of coast you through different opportunities as a first generation student. We also do different program series for imposter syndrome, or sometimes people are a little bit nervous about starting their college experience. Their parent, guardian didn't go through the college experience, and that's what the pre-welcome experience is all about. So we're really connecting you to your peers and learn a little bit about it's okay to be nervous about college, and here's some resources that we can give you. And we also connect you to other student organizations and students. So we have Many to Come, which is a registered student organization on campus, which kind of helps you understand how to get involved, but also get to know other first gen students that are leaders on campus. So the CUSE First program is completely optional. And what's a cool thing about it, it's led by first gen students. So this is an opportunity to meet first gen students and connect with other students all before you start orientation and classes on campus. The other thing that we offer through our office is affinity spaces. So this is actually a new initiative that we're just implementing. We work with campus partners. So like Huey's a good example from OMA and the Disability Cultural Center, to kind of connect you with other people that have similar identities as you. So you build a sense of support and affinity right at the start of your college experience. So you may be a little nervous about meeting other people who have similar identities as you, and they actually connect and be able to learn about different resources or just find community right at the start of your college experience, and that can maybe get you more connected to organizations like OMA, like Hillel if you identify as Jewish. So these are just a couple of other resources, and our office specifically does the First Generation initiative, so we can connect you to other campus resources that help support first gen programming. The other thing that we also do is our office celebrates first gen. So you know how I just mentioned the educational component and learning things. That's great, but we also just want to celebrate your existence on campus. So other universities across the country celebrate First Gen Day on November 8th, and we do the same. We get you cookies. We had like a huge celebration, and we invite faculty, staff, graduate and undergraduate students, because sometimes people forget that, you know, we have faculty on campus that are first gen. They were the first in their family to go to college, and you may see them and be really intimidated, but they were probably once like you know, starting and not knowing a lot of different experiences. So we give you the opportunity to network and then just get some free food. So we do celebrate that as well. And last but not least, we do offer First Gen Fridays. So we host these typically in the spring once a month, and that's just an opportunity for you to get lunch, get to talk to other campus partners, and have like interactions and learn about campus resources. We've done things in the past where we invited LGBTRC, which is our lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and questioning queer resource, to come on campus, as well as our office of student activities to just get more involved on campus. So First Gen Fridays are a great way to just build community within our First Gen population and just stay involved to see what other ways to get active on campus, or things you want to do within your future. If you're not ready during your maybe first year, you just want to test the waters a little bit, you can also do those throughout your years at SU. So those are a couple of things that our office and the Office of First Gen Transfer Programs does to support First Gen students.
Thanks so much, Jimmy. And again, I'm Huey Xiao, Associate Director of Multicultural Affairs and the Kessler Program. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited all these people came out on a Wednesday evening to learn about First Gen programs at Syracuse University. You should all know that we have close to 20% of the student population that's First Gen, and we're really here to support that experience for folks that are going to be in college for the first time in their families. And so I represent the Office of Multicultural Affairs, but I also run our brand new Kessler Presidential Scholars Program. And so I'll talk about how OMA supports all students of color, some of whom are First Gen. And so there's that. And then the Kessler Scholars Program is primarily only for first generation students. So just a quick overview of the Office of Multicultural Affairs in general. Our mission is to support and promote the academic achievement, multicultural competence, social development, civic engagement, and retention of undergrad students from historically underrepresented racial groups at Syracuse University, including Black and African American students, API students, Hispanic and Latinx students, Indigenous and Native American students, and multiracial and multi-ethnic students. So we do a lot, but I'm just going to focus on our mentoring programs. So next slide, please. So our programs have very similar features, although they kind of focus on niche audiences, student groups. And so we all have this mentoring piece, this peer mentoring piece. So students that may have gone through the program themselves, or students just want to give back, but students that can basically show the ropes of how to be connected and how to just be successful at navigating the university and get what they want out of their experience. In addition, all of the programs have weekly seminars. It's not just, we're not trying to replicate like what's in the classroom, because students get enough in the classroom, and that's obviously why you're in college, but you're also in college to meet new people and build community and gain some great life skills. And so our educational seminars are exactly that. And then I kind of talked about this aspect of community. So coming together is not just about giving out some education to you all, but it's about coming together and just allowing you to meet new people, make friends, and that's really important to us. Even in this time of COVID, it was challenging. We were hybrid this fall, but when we were able to come in person in small groups, albeit, we tried our best to create community. We had food, but we know that when COVID is past, will come together in large groups, and we typically have buffet dinners and ways to come together and break bread. Next slide, please. So this is a quick overview. I'll just go to the next slide and I'll talk about each program in general. Thanks, Crystalline. So our flagship program is the Wellesley Leadership Program, and this is the program that started it all for us back in 2003. And it was established mainly to support students who weren't already getting support on campus. So Crystalline will talk about like SSS and HEOP, and there's other programs like Posse, or even if you're a student athlete, those programs offer a tremendous amount of support. And back in 2003, we wanted to create a program that didn't replicate that support. And so that's how Wellesley was born. And basically, again, the peer mentorship is really important. And we're lucky to have Sierra St. Louis with us tonight. She was in Wellesley as a freshman, and she's a two-time peer leader. So she can talk more about her experience in Wellesley. But I'll leave it at that for Wellesley. This is a picture of, we do an annual event. The program is focused mainly on the first year experience, but we do have a second year program. And in the second year, we honor students who went through the first year, knowing in that first year is just a huge accomplishment and allows students to really to start off on the right foot and be successful for the rest of their college career. We do this ceremony, which is like a graduation of sorts, and we give out stoles. We give out academic awards and certificates, and we always have like a really nationally prominent speaker come talk. And this was the year, 2019, we had Jose Antonio Vargas speak to the group, he's known for being outspoken about undocumented student and folks issues and issues related to immigrants. Next slide, please. Another great program that we have serves specifically Indigenous students, and that's our Native Student Program. And this is something that is actually a partnership with Academic Affairs, and also is something that we are paying more attention to this year because we're actually creating a more formal mentoring program, which is super exciting. But the other great part of this program is that it has an element of programming that allows Indigenous students to really learn about their heritage in college and dive deep in that area. Next slide, please. Another mentoring program, which is a little bit newer, is our Full Circle mentoring program. This program is unique in the sense that you can stick around in this program for 4 years or beyond, because essentially you can join as a freshman and be mentored by a peer mentor, and then you can go to your second year, become a peer mentor, mentor someone, and then be mentored by a junior or senior or a faculty or staff member on campus. And then you can move on and graduate, and then you can become an alumni mentor and mentor a peer mentor in the program. So it's really cool that that it has that feature of connecting with all those different folks. And so this program, again, offers not only the mentorship piece, but weekly educational programming and opportunities to build community. Another program that we have that's unique is our Dimensions Mentoring Program, and this is for self-identified women of color. And it's a great program to kind of talk about issues that relate to women of color, and which are unique, especially in the college setting and society at large. And so they will come together and talk about issues like self-confidence. Sometimes they talk about relationships, healthy relationships in college, or even talking about how to be successful academically and engage across different cultures. Next slide, please. Our final program that I'll talk about in OMA is our Men of Color initiative. And this is super new. This started in actually last semester in the spring. And it was a program that we actually had a similar program years ago that the Women of Color and Dimensions pushed us to create. But that program kind of became a different program, and we brought it back in this form. And it's exciting because it focuses on men of color. And this program is slightly unique in that we have opportunities to engage with faculty and staff And a lot of the students in the program, the men in the program, have a say in the way the programming is run. Okay, so the last program here is, it sits in OMA, and I happen to run it, but it actually is a program that sits in the larger division of enrollment in the student experience. And that's our Kessler Presidential Scholars Program. And this is super new. We're really excited to have this program. It comes from the generous, we were able to start it from the generous funding from the Wilpon family. And Fred Wilpon is famous for any of you Mets fans out there. Fred Wilpon is a co-owner of the Mets, not a Syracuse grad, but a super supporter of first generation students. This program is a small cohort-based program. We enroll 15 to 20 students. And it's unique because it actually has a scholarship financial component to it, which the other OMA programs do not have. And we choose the students based on who has said that they're going to, they put down the deposit, they want to matriculate, and we look at that population of students to shape the class of Kessler scholars. Next slide, please. And then I'll quickly go over just the aspects of the Kessler program. So we have one-on-one guidance from professional staff, including me, and we're dedicated to making sure you're successful. And this is slightly different than the other programs that I described, in that it's a 4-year program. And we also have mentoring, which is again a hallmark of OMA programs. And then we have weekly programming focused on academic professional development, as well as unique leadership opportunities, and that all important aspect of community service that's important in one's college career. And of course, the ultimate goal, I think for all of us, I think I can speak for all of us, is that we want you all, if you do come to Syracuse, to graduate and to make us proud. So I'll pass it off to Crystalline.
Thank you for all the information, Huey. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of our access programs that we have here at Syracuse University. One of the first ones being our TSS program, our TRIO Student Support Services program. This program was designed to help support students academically. It's a federal program, so you can find it at different schools as well. It is for first generation students or students who have a documented disability. So typically how we identify students is first is through reading through the application, of course, seeing that they're a first generation student, and a lot of them present an academic profile that comes very close to our averages in general. And then you have to be eligible financially as well. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you the table that the U.S. Department of Education has in order to show you what your income level needs to be in order to qualify that way. It is important that you submit your FAFSA as well as the CSS profile, because our Office of Financial Aid and the office that supports SSS will need to make sure that everything's in place, that you are eligible financially for this program. There's no way to officially apply for this program. So what I usually tell students to do is, feel free to use different areas in the application to do this. So you can indicate your interest either in the additional comments section, you can do it within the supplemental question that we have. Or one of the things I really encourage students to do is have an interview with an admissions representative. So if you're a high school senior, have an interview with us and talk about your interest in the program, because what we do is that we're able to note it in our evaluation. And so the admissions committee is able to see this, and then they can have you be reviewed for the program. If you are interested in SSS, it is okay if you apply regular decision. ED1 has a pass, but we do have early decision too, both with a deadline of January 1st. So you are able to apply for either type of application process. And I'll talk about the application process in general in a couple of slides. It is important to note that this is a program that is going to support its students not only financially, but the main purpose of it is to support students academically as well as personally. If you meet with any student in SSS as well as our HOP program, they'll tell you it's like a mini family within the university for them. The staff there are very supportive. Students will go there even if they don't have an appointment with their academic advisor. They might go there just to hang out or just to do some studying, or if they just need some general advice about anything going on in their lives. They really grow close to the program staff members. And every student that goes through SSS has to go through what's called Summer Start, which is a 6-week summer program. This year they had to do it virtually, but typically it's on campus where you'll take a couple classes and those credits do count towards your degree. And you're also learning a lot of skill sets that will make you, they'll help you be successful throughout your college career. And it's a great way to get a head start as well as get to know the campus before everyone else joins campus for the fall. So the next slide. So this is the economic guideline that I was talking about. So if you want to take a picture of it, because I won't be on it for too long, but it's very important to know it all depends on your household and what the income level is. And this is from the 2019 tax year. So I'll give you a couple of seconds just to take a picture if you need it. And then the next program that we have is our Higher Educational Opportunity Program, very similar to SSS in that it provides college access to students. HOP is, if anyone is has heard of EOP, is very similar in that, you know, it's the same program except HOP is for our private institutions where EOP is for public institutions. Something very important to note is that you have to be a New York State resident in order to qualify for this program. So just be aware of that. So same thing in terms of, you know, you have to submit your application. There's no separate application to apply for HOP. You can indicate it in the supplemental question or an additional comment section. Definitely would highly recommend the interview as well for any HOP student. The students that are coming in through HOP have a different academic profile. They might need a little more support in certain areas. So it runs very similarly to SSS in that you're basically part of that same family. So SSS and HOP live within the same office. So they become very close with their the staff members, their advisors in that office. They also have to go through Summer Start. So HOP and SSS are going through the Summer Start program together. And then making sure to fulfill the FAFSA and the CSS profile. And they also have academic guidelines that you have to fulfill. So I will show you that in a second. So these are the economic guidelines. Like I said, it's important to know the number in the household, including the head of the household, and what the annual income base is. So I'll give you all a couple of seconds for any students that are from New York that feel like that they might be interested in this program to take a picture of this. And then in general, our whole application process. So when applying to SU, you apply either early decision or regular decision. One thing I forgot to mention about HOP, you can only apply regular decision for that program. So be mindful of that. So early decision deadline was November 15th, but we do have early decision 2 available. So that will be January 1st for that deadline, as well as the regular decision deadline. When we look at an application, you might hear a lot of schools say this, but we do a holistic selection process. So what that means is that we're looking at every single part of your application. We're looking to see, of course, how you did academically. We want to make sure you're going to be academically successful at SU. We're looking to see the rigor of your curriculum throughout high school, depending on what your high school offered. And then from there, we're going to take a look at your letters of recommendation. We require 2 from teachers and 1 from a guidance counselor. That lets us know how you are as a student. And then we look at your extracurricular activities, what you were involved in and out of school, if you had any family responsibilities. We'll look at what's it called? Your essay. So your Common App essay is very important for us because this is where we get to know you as a person. Everything else tells you who you are as a student. So the essay is where we get to know you. And then of course the supplemental question. This is where it helps us understand your interest in SU. So we want to see, why are you interested in Syracuse? What you feel like Syracuse can do for you and your plans, and what you feel like you can bring to our community. For seniors this year, we are test optional. So be mindful that you do not need to submit your ACT or SAT score if you don't want to. Now, for those who are not seniors, we don't know yet if we're going to continue being test optional. So that won't be decided until sometime next year. So I won't be able to tell you if we're still going to continue being test optional. Another thing to note about our application process, so we are solely on Common App. When you apply to us, you're applying directly into one of our academic programs. So within Syracuse University, we have 10 different schools and colleges. you're applying directly into the school and college that you're interested in and the major that you're interested in. Now, some of our school and colleges do allow you to apply undecided, such as our College of Arts and Sciences and Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs, our Whitman School of Management, which is our business school. So if you're undecided, that is perfectly okay. What I usually tell students to do, take a look at the schools that allow you to apply undecided. Look to see which one has the most majors that you're interested in and apply to that program. So you'll have two choices. You could do your first choice, your second choice, and then we have another question where you select either yes or no to. So this question basically asks, if you're not admissible into your first two choices, do you allow Syracuse to pick a program for you? If you select yes, if we feel like you're a really great candidate, a really great applicant, you would be a huge asset to our campus, and that we feel like we could do a lot for you, we'll pick a program for you that's still aligned with what you're trying to do with your academic and career path. And then we offer the personal interviews. So for those are solely for seniors. So if you're interested in an interview, either April or Tammy, could you please provide the link in the chat box? And then in terms of our commitment to affordability, this is where the SSS and the HOP program come in. It's very important that you submit your FAFSA and the CSS profile. Those are due when your application is due. So with the application deadline coming up, those are going to be due January 1st. It is very important that you submit those documents before the deadline so that the Office of Financial Aid has that information from you. And then we cover at least 100% of demonstrated need for all of our students. And we have different types of financial aid that we give out. So we have scholarships, grants, what else? Federal loans, federal grants, and every student that applies to us is automatically considered for a merit-based scholarship. So that is not a separate application that you need to do for us. So here's all of our contact information in terms of if you want to reach out to our individual offices for any questions that you may have. We're also going to take questions now. So I'm going to read out the questions. And I'll let you know who it belongs to. So the first one I would think is for me. So is it easy for first generation students to get into SU, or will it be harder? I wouldn't say, don't look at being a first gen student as being something that will negatively impact the application process for you. We will note it on your application because it might help us put you into a program that, like a scholarship program such as Kessler. It might help us put you into SSS and HOP depending on what your eligibility is, but it will not be harder for you to be accepted just because you're a first gen student. Let's see. I'm just trying to see any questions. Is it better to apply for early decision 2 or regular decision? It is completely up to you. So the difference is that early decision is a binding contract between the applicant and the school if you get your first choice of program. So what this means is that, say if you apply early decision, you don't get your first choice, you get your second choice, you no longer are obligated to that contract that you signed for us. But early decision is for students who know that SU is their top school. This is where you want to come. Early decision applicants will find out in about mid-January to the end of January, possibly early February, whereas regular decision, you won't find out until mid-March. Let's see. If we don't do well in the interview, will it negatively affect our application? So the interview isn't meant to intimidate you or trick our students in any sort of way. The interview is solely to get to know you. As you can imagine, when we're reading applications, it's very hard for us to get to know a student as a person. So that's where the interview helps us. So when we do our evaluation of the interview, it's called an evaluation, but all we're doing is, typing up what we learned about you so the admissions committee has that information. It's not like we rate you from a scale of 1 to 10 or anything like that. So it's very, very rare that it would negatively impact a student. I would feel like the student had to be like really rude or something like that. So it's solely a way just for us to get to know you better. And that's the sole purpose for the interview. And for you to also build a relationship with an admissions representative. I can imagine for a lot of high schoolers, it's very intimidating to meet with admissions representatives, but please remember that we're here to help you with this process. And we want to make sure that we're also a good fit for you. So when you're doing that interview, make sure you come with questions because you need to figure out if this school is also going to be a good fit for what you're trying to do with your future. Is the CSS required for merit-based financial aid? So merit scholarships are solely based on different parts of your application that you submit. So it could be based on whatever grades are on your transcript. It could be based on your test scores if that's what you submit. It could be based on your extracurricular activities. So the CSS is not used for merit-based scholarships. When will regular decision be released? Those are released at those are released mid-March to end of March. If you apply early decision on November 15th, was the CSS due then? Absolutely. So the CSS profile and the FAFSA are due when your application is due. So if you're applying early decision 1, that is when those forms have to be into us by. If we applied regular decision, is there a way we can change to early decision 2? Absolutely, that's a great question. So what you can do is that you can email us at orange@syr.edu, indicating that you want your application switched to ED2, and what will happen is that someone will get back to you they'll get back to you and they'll send you the contract that you need to get signed in order for us to do that. So if they don't send you the contract, just request it. And then you'll have to sign it, your guidance counselor has to sign it, and a parent or legal guardian has to sign it as well. For do first-gen students, does first-gen generation help us get internships? So is that from one of the programs that were talked about?
I can try to take that one, Crystal.
Okay.
It looks like you need a little break.
Right.
You've been on a roll. I mean, I think this is a really good question. If you are first generation and you're part of one of the programs, whether it's SSS or HUOP or Kessler or Wellesley, I think you're afforded definitely guidance on how to go about the internship search process. I think like being a part of one of the programs, I think helps build confidence. I think there are opportunities through, depending on your school and college, that will be offered up, whether it's like through Handshake, which is the job board system that the university uses, or through networking with alumni or faculty and staff. And so I think there's multiple ways to get an internship. But I think to answer your question the best that I can is, if you are in one of the programs, I think it helps put you in that position to receive some great guidance and confidence to hopefully get an internship.
And just to go off that too, is that like Huey's programs that like Hey and the rest of OMA help operate? They do like the Wellesley. I know we have Sierra here, but a lot of our student leaders in the Office of First Year and Transfer Programs are orientation leaders, and many of them come from Wellesley. So being involved on campus, doing CUSE First pre-welcome and being a CUSE First leader, or being a part of any of the programs that Huey mentioned in OMA that do open doors, and other offices on campuses, we do like that. Let's see you getting involved and getting active. That does really do help. So maybe not internship, but campus involvement per se, which then gives you opportunities to do internships on and off campus. So that's definitely something to consider.
And I'm going to put Sierra on the spot. I don't know, Sierra, if you want to give your perspective as a first generation student yourself.
Yeah, sure. So there's actually a question in there for me that I would like to answer. So somebody asked me what it has been like to being a first generation student here at Syracuse. So for me, the beginning was extremely difficult. I had just come out of a place in my life where I didn't know much was going on. I didn't know how to apply for things. I didn't know when deadlines were and all of this stuff. And it took me a long time to be able to oh yes, this and this and this and this. So I would not be too harsh on yourself for forgetting things or doing that, because we all know that since we didn't have anybody ahead of us, it's kind of hard to remember all the things that we're supposed to do. And especially when sometimes it's not explicitly told to us that we're supposed to do these things. So it can be very difficult. I will say that joining Wellesley personally was really, really helpful for me. Being a part of a program on campus for that will help you in any sort of way. It was definitely helpful. My mentor was very helpful. Huey has been extremely helpful, and I obviously am still a part of the program to give back because I want other freshmen to have similar experiences to I want to help them as much as I can, because I know what I was going through. but definitely having somebody there that understands like, hey, I've never done this before, and gives you that security to be able to open up to them and be like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know if this is supposed to be happening. Can you help me? And being able to like reach out and be like, hey, can you help me? I need help, especially when you're on a new campus and you don't know anybody else around, was something I desperately needed when I first got to Syracuse. So it has been a wild ride, but I've made it through with the help of my mentors and the people around me and my friends that I've made. And still did some waiting on my own, but they're definitely join a program if you can. It is one of the best things that I ever did at Syracuse.
All right, let's see. Just to answer a few more questions. So when did the process start for looking at applications? So we've already started looking at applications, especially because our early decision deadline was last month. And then we'll start reading those from regular decision soon. Like a lot of students have already submitted their applications. So we usually start that process in mid to end of December, just because we want to make sure we have enough time to read through the thousands of applications that we get, and we'll read for the remainder of the winter. If I submit my CSS profile a little after my application, would it impact your application? So it won't necessarily impact the application that we read as admissions. It might impact what happens with your financial aid package. So what I would suggest is that you reach out to financial aid to see what they're missing from you. And if you haven't gotten that in before the deadline, just make sure that you get that in as soon as possible, and then just work with financial aid to make sure that they have all the information that they need from you. How do you get into the Kessler program?
That's a great question, Chris. So we already went through one process of admissions to the program. We're going to go into our second process. So this is a little bit new for us, but basically we look at the students who have already been admitted to the university and put down a deposit and say that they're coming, right? And so that pool of students plus students that haven't been taken up by SSS or HGOP, we then kind of whittle out those students, posse students, student athletes, and that's our pool. And basically, we're doing like another mini, I guess, holistic review of the application. And we're looking for like key things, like we're not just looking at academics, but we're looking at like leadership potential. Has the person given back to their community? What kind of, we want someone that can really represent the quote unquote Kessler brand really well, and just really make an impact on campus and be a leader. And so we look at a bunch of things, and then we may make our decisions. Hopefully that answered your question, Chris.
Thank you, Huey, sorry. Let's see. What type of internship or work can you do when you start college? Sierra, I don't know if you have any experience of doing internships at SU, or have any friends that did any when you first started school, like your freshman or sophomore year?
So I personally have not done an internship, but that is of my own accord and for my own reasons. But I do have a couple of friends who are doing research and internships and applying for internships. And I even have some peers who are applying for internships. So it can be a little stressful, and it can get overwhelming at times. But the most you want to do is make sure, one, go to the people who know what they're doing. So we do have offices on campus who can help you. And you also have your mentor. If you get into a program, you have any of these people, feel free to reach out to any of them. They will help you as much as they can, especially everybody here. But so I know personally, it took a little while. It was a little stressful for everybody, but don't get discouraged just because you may not know exactly what you're doing. And I always feel like honesty is the best thing when it comes to this, because if you, like I said a minute ago, if you go and ask somebody like, hey, this is my first time doing this, how do I do this? It's definitely more helpful than trying to wade through it on your own, unless you're like, okay, I can do this. I maybe, or you have a friend who's done it. So that's just my personal experience with and for work. I did not actually work my freshman year, but there are programs where you can work. You can work in the dining halls and around campus and offices and all that stuff. But I ended up working my second year, and in my second year, my third year, and obviously my senior year currently for work, it has been intermittent. I've done the peer mentorship. I've done I'm a health educator for the Barnes Center of the Arch as well. I was a note taker. I was a 7-100 co-facilitator. I've done a lot of jobs here and there. And even with my large class load, it was pretty okay for me. But again, judge that based on what you can do and don't just feel like you have to work or have to work a lot to make ends meet. Try your best to balance the two. And I know that can be difficult at times. So.
So one important thing to know about Syracuse University is that each of our schools and colleges has their own career services office, and each student also gets a career advisor. So you have the resources available to you and you have that support. So it's very easy just to go into that office, even as early as your freshman year, to start talking about what internship opportunities could be available to you, and they'll help you with that whole process. And then in terms of the work, you can start as early as a freshman year. Like some students get awarded federal work study through their financial aid package. And if you don't, there's non-federal work studies on jobs on campus as well. You know, I was one of those students. I had 3 jobs at one point on campus. I was never overwhelmed, but the opportunities are all over campus. So it's very easy to do. Not only are you able to get money, but you're also able to gain a lot of skill sets. They'll stay with you for the rest of your professional career. Like I graduated a very long time ago. And so this day, there's a lot of different lessons and skill sets that I gained as an undergraduate in my jobs on campus that I still hold near and dear to me to this day. Does it help if you submit your application early? So we don't have rolling admissions. So even if, like, say you were applying regular decision and you submitted your application in November, you won't necessarily hear back earlier from us. So we start sending out regular decision by mid-March to the end of March. So we have a few more minutes. Are there any last minute questions you want to ask us? Huey, Jimmy, or Sierra, do you have any last minute things that you want to say to everyone? I just want to answer this real quick. Are there jobs available on campus? Yeah, so as I was just talking, there's a lot of jobs available on campus, either through work study or through non-federal work study. Roommates, I'm not sure. Very vague question. So I'm assuming how does roommates work? So if you get accepted into Syracuse, you will be sent what's called My College Roomie, where it's basically you are able to search through everyone to try to find a roommate of your own. If you know someone else coming to Syracuse, you can apply to live together. But if you just want the university to pick a roommate for you, that's something that you can also do as well. They use a questionnaire to help match you with roommates. And usually as a freshman, you will live in a double in one of 6 of our residence halls that are typically for first year students. Will our financial aid package also come with regular decision letter? Will that be released later? Typically, when you get your decision, you will also have your financial aid package on your MySlice account. You'll get access to your MySlice account when you apply to us. If it's not there, usually it might take just a couple business days, but they usually come hand in hand with each other. If you already submitted your application, can you still schedule an interview? Absolutely. I would suggest you try to schedule something as soon as possible because they're filling up very, very quickly. So Tammy or April, if you can share that link in the chat box. So you can definitely still interview even if you haven't submitted your application as well. But just make sure that your deadline was January 1st. So if you're an ED1 student, you can't interview at this point, but if you're ED2 or regular decision, you definitely can. What else? How does summer start schedule look like? And what are some examples of classes and activities? Huey or Jimmy, do you know specifically like what activities and classes they have done?
I know loosely. I know that we are investigating the option of, not the option, but the requirement of having summer start with Kessler. So I'm in the process of getting to know summer start more. I mean, I know I have colleagues in HOP and SSS I mean, there's an opportunity to take a few credits, right, to get started on your college careers. So you can imagine it's like, a few hours of classes a week. I believe there's like a I'm not sure how to call it, like a first year forum, like class, like a class where you would like learn about different resources on campus and like get to know other students. And so that's another, I believe that's another aspect of the program. Although I don't want to venture into talking too much about something I don't know a lot about. So I'll stop right there. Jimmy, I don't know if Jimmy or Sierra, do you?
I know I think they definitely take a writing course for sure. They do one of the required writing classes. What I would recommend is that you can reach out to the HOP and SSS office, and they can definitely give you that information. In terms of activities, they'll do a lot of like team building activities so that you could get to know the different members of the program. And they also want you to have fun during the program. It's a very rigorous academic program for just 6 weeks. But they also want to make sure that you're having fun. So they'll throw a lot of fun activities for you as well. Obviously, with it being virtual this past summer, it was much, much different for those students. Hopefully the pandemic, eases up on us by next summer so that we're able to have our students back on campus. So if April, Tammy, if you can provide SSS and HOP's email address for anyone who's interested and can reach out to them. Let's see. Does the credit for super classes get transferred over automatically, or do you have to do it manually? You would need to make sure that your academic, if you get accepted to SU, you would need to make sure your academic advisor is aware that you took a super class in your high school so that they can work to get that credit transferred over, so that it's not even transferred over since it is one of our classes, but just make sure it's reflected on your transcript for credit towards your degree. Does the interview help with the application process? So it could definitely help, just because it'll help us get to know you more as a person. It'll be another additional part of your application, and it definitely gives you that connection with someone within the admissions office, so that if you continue having questions or need help with anything throughout the application process, you'll know exactly who you can go to for that help. If I choose one program, will I be able to switch to a different program? So if you get into a program and you want to change your major, if it's within the same school or college that you're in, it's pretty easy to change as long as you declare a major by the end of your sophomore year. But if you want to transfer into another school or program, another school or college within Syracuse, you would need to apply for inter-university transfer, and that's something you'll work on with your academic advisor. Some programs are more competitive than others, so that's very important to note. Just make sure that, especially your freshman year, you're doing very, very well, because they're going to want to see how you're academically performing if you try to do an inter-university transfer. What is Summer Start? So Summer Start is for students that are part of HOP and SSS. So I think I forgot to mention this, but you must complete Summer Start for HOP and SSS in order to fully be admitted into the university. If you do not attend that program, then you will not be able to attend SU. And can you summarize the overall interview process? Literally, it's just the admissions representative or one of our interns just asking you questions, getting to know you better. They'll definitely leave time for you to ask questions as well. All right, so it seems like we're almost at time. So Huey, Jimmy, Sierra, are there any last minute remarks you want to make?
I think Sierra should say something.
Yeah, so just an overall thing for you guys, things just reiterating some of the things that I said earlier, things are going to be confusing. It's going to be a little bit difficult. Reach out and ask for help, because it's going to be extremely helpful for you and for your family and for whoever's helping you do this process and go through college. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There are a lot of resources on campus that you may not know that you have available to you, because they aren't outright told to you. And also your first week, you're going to get slammed with so much information. I would recommend you organize things and go through them all and look up all the things. It'll help you as time goes on. And yeah, you guys are going to do great if you come to Syracuse. Welcome to Syracuse if you get in and all that stuff. You guys are going to do great wherever you are, and you got this.
And I'll just say just quickly, I think like oftentimes the narrative around first generation students is this deficit narrative, right? I want to emphasize that at Syracuse University, we see being first gen as a strength, and we want people to take pride in being first gen. We see the experience as like very, very unique, and one that builds resilience, one that just has like, it's an amazing experience to go through college as a first gen student. Many of our first gen students go on and do great things, including Sierra, who will go on and do great things. And so I just wanted to make that final point.
Jimmy, did you have anything else to say?
I think just echoing what Sierra and Huey said. I think that that's something that our office really likes to embrace, is that celebration. Is that a lot of times you get bombarded with a lot of information, a lot of resources, but sometimes we just want you to reflect and just like celebrate that you made it, and that you're a part of our community. And just kind of echoing what also Huey mentioned, is we can't stress that enough, that like I've been working here for a little over a year now, and I've worked with Huey, and we've constantly talked about first gen students, and I can name a list, and I've sent Huey several like Excel sheets with first gen students on it, because it's it's a part of the journey, but it's also like that's something that authentically comes out when you're having conversations with faculty and staff on campus. And those conversations really do open different accesses to opportunities and resources. So don't be afraid to share out that first gen experience, or to share out your experience, because a lot of times we're here to help support you and connect you to resources. So I think that it's something that we definitely love to celebrate here at SU.
I would definitely agree with Sierra. Just make sure you ask questions, and don't let your pride get in the way. I'll say that was my biggest mistake as an undergraduate student. And I learned the hard way, and also utilize your peers. A lot of your peers have connections with other staff members and faculty across campus. So if you need something or need help, they might be able to connect you with someone that can be there for you. So we really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need help with anything. And we hope you enjoy the remainder of your evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.